Sometimes decorating using couplers and tips just is not practical. Maybe you don't have any, but you have access to a ton of bags because these are cheap and easy to come by. So my advice to you is to take this and chop it off like so. Now we just simply have frosting coming out of the end of this bag. Then you take another bag and you put your tip inside of it. Let's go with this one right here. I have a nice round tip. Put your bag inside of, or your tip inside of it. Goodness gracious me, I can't get it flipped around. There we go. You want to cut around it like you do with a coupler. Push her down in, like so. Then you can simply stick your bag of frosting inside it and be able to squeeze from here. You can then pull this out and replace it with another color. So a really easy way to decorate cakes without using couplers and tips, or couplers and rings. All right, I want to talk about the different angles when holding a cake decorating bag. First of all, twist your bag like so. Twist it and clamp it so the frosting comes this direction, not that direction. I find it easier to not use the clips because the clips just get in my way. So twist really good. Keep an eye on your twist. I've also seen some people take the end of this and hold on to it like that. So there's no way frosting's going to come out. So 90-degree angle, 45-degree angle, 90-degree angle, 45-degree angle. There are a few instances where I will use the 45-degree angle, and there are a few instances where I'll use the 90-degree angle. Let's talk about using the outline tip. See, it's a very small, round, circular tip. This tip is going to be used at a 45-degree angle, like we discussed. Now, I want to start squeezing gently, and then I just kind of want my frosting to fall. So then I can direct my frosting where it needs to go. I don't want to take my frosting and just drag it through. That doesn't look nice. It looks very shaky. It looks bad. So I am going to use my 45-degree angle to let it hover over the cake. If I go too slow, I get curly cues. If I go too fast, I get what I call turds. So you have to go at just the right speed. So hover above and direct your frosting as it gently falls from the tip. Now I'm going to prepare myself an outline that I can star. So I'm going to use my 45-degree angle, and I'm just going to create a shape. Remember, hover, let it very gently fall, not going too fast, not going too slow. I went a little bit too slow, so you can see my frosting broke off. Not a big deal. I can start where I left off, and you can barely tell that my frosting broke off. Now we're going to come over here. Again, not too fast, not too slow, hovering, not touching the cake. And we've created a heart. I freehanded that one. Generally, when you're decorating a cake, you have the cake shape and detail to go off of. I created that one myself. I'd say it's pretty decent. So now I want to show you switching colors. and the tip with my method of not using any couplers. So I'm just gonna pull this tip out of here. Ta-da! I'm gonna put in the star tip, which is an 18. Sometimes I use 21, which is a little bit bigger. And then I'm going to take a different frosting. Let's go with this one. I'm gonna pause it. All right, I had to pause that so I could massage my frosting. It was a little bit too cold directly from the refrigerator. So we're going to smush our tip down like I did before. Get it decent sized. If I left this tip too narrow and skinny at the bottom, it'd start coming up the tip of the tip. So it has to be decent, but it really just depends. Okay, so I stuck it inside my bag, twirling her up, giving it a little squeeze. If you remember, I told you that the star tip needs a 90-degree angle. So I am going to stop shaking here. Ooh, there we go. So we are going to use our 90-degree angle to hover in place, squeeze, let go, lift. Squeeze, hovering, let go, lift. You want to squeeze so that the frosting comes out and around the tip. You need to stop and pull up. Squeeze so the frosting comes up around the tip. Stop, pull up. Squeeze so the frosting comes out around the tip. Stop, pull up. Same thing. Squeeze, stop, squeeze, stop, squeeze, stop. Now if I go too fast, you're going to see that I'm trying to make it do it, but it's not cooperating to do it the wrong way. If you don't do this the right way, you'll get one point in the center. You'll notice how each one of these little stars has its own little point. If you do it too fast or your frosting's too soft and gooey, it's going to make one giant like triangular point instead of point on each one of the ridges within the tip. So you want to be a little bit slow with this, and I'm trying to fill in the entire heart without any holes. So you just want your stars to be right next to each other so you don't see any holes, and you want them to look very uniform in nature. Typically when I star and outline, I try to outline first to give me an idea of where my stars have to go, and then I fill in that area. But sometimes I also star, and then do some outlining or some decorating on top of the stars. So you're going to see that in my next fast forwarded video of the Rainbow Bright decorating of the cake. All right, I'm going to switch colors now. I showed you before that you just remove the tip. You can stick your next tip inside. See, this is a 21. I'm going to show you with this one. It is a 32. So stick your tip inside, down to the bottom, and then we are going to take this and squish, squish, squish. And then we're going to cut a decent amount. There we go. We got it cut. Now again, you can use couplers, and that is a preferred method. But if you're at home and you don't have couplers, it's not a big deal to use this method. So again, twist it really good, and then I like to go like that so that it's not going to squeeze out. Then you don't have to use the clips. So this is the shell border that I'm going to show you. Basically, it is another type of star tip, but it's much bigger than our star tip that we used a second ago, which I don't know if you can actually really see that on the video. This one's an 18. This one here is a 32. So bigger number, bigger tip. So I am going to use a 45-degree angle again. So you really only use the 90-degree angle with the star tip. I'm going to use my 45-degree angle. I'm going to hover. I'm going to squeeze. Oh, that one just plopped out at me. Let's try that again. I had an air bubble. Sometimes that happens. You can scrape that off your cake and do it again. So I'll clean off my tip here. There we go. So 45-degree angle, hovering, squeezing, less squeezing, pull down as we squeeze less. So start on the tail, squeeze to a ball forms, less squeezing, pull down. Start on the tail, hover, squeeze till a ball forms, less squeezing as we pull down, creating a little tail. Start on the tail, squeeze till a ball comes out, and less squeezing, pull down. So it's actually quite satisfying to create a border. It's a nice finish to the edge of your cake. It is the last thing that you typically do. Sometimes I do like to use my border tip at a 90-degree angle to create stars from it. It's not the same look of star, but you know, it's cake decorating, so you can kind of do what you want with it. It's creative. There's no 100% rule that you have to do X, Y, or Z. You can kind of make it up as you go. See? Oh geez, you can't see that. Well, there we go. See that? Small versus larger. They both have very satisfying looks to it, and you can see the tiny little tail, like not the tail, but in the center of these yellow stars, you can see that it has one point in the center. That's wrong. I should have done that a little bit better to make it have a point on each one of my ridges. So squeeze, squeeze, let it come out, stop, lift. So that's much better. It's a much more open tip, so you're more prone to get that tip or that in the center. Once your frosting has actually dried a little bit, you can kind of push on that tip and make it go away. So again, there's really no rule that you have to do this or you have to do that. So when we're decorating our cakes, we are going to use outline, star, and border, but there's some other tips that we could use too, such as this one right here. See how it has a whole bunch of holes in it? This is called the grass tip. This is a fun tip. I like to use this one when well, obviously if I were making grass, but Rainbow Bright has hair. So I think I'm going to use this tip to give her some hair that actually looks like real hair. So I'm going to show you what it looks like when I use this tip. It comes out like this. See? That looks like hair. Maybe I'll use that, maybe I won't. Maybe I'll take the border tip and draw some straight bang lines with it. Again, you can kind of have fun with this, doing what you want with it. We have 90-degree angles. It piles up like spaghetti. You do a 45-degree angle. Now we're getting a little bit of hair this way. Or grass. Your 90-degree, lift, squeeze, lift, squeeze, lift, squeeze, lift, squeeze, lift, squeeze, lift. This is what it's actually supposed to look like because this is a grass tip. See? Piles of grass. It's a tough tip to make it look perfect, but cake decorating is not perfect with any art. Perfection is not what you're going for. Creativity. Creativity is what you want. Of course, you want to look nice. You want it to be edible. You want to do your best job.